Detective William Somerset, Morgan Freeman, is prepared to retire and flee the horrors of a nameless city of perpetual rain and urban ruin. Before retiring, he teams up with Detective David Mills, Brad Pitt, an arrogant, youthful, and short-tempered officer from Springfield, a tiny town. He and Somerset meet at the scene of a homicide that Somerset is looking into. Somerset offers to take Mills out for a drink so they can chat and get to know each other better, but Mills is too anxious to get to work and dismisses Somerset's attempt to mentor him. The two look into the death of a morbidly obese guy, Bob Mack, who was fed spaghetti till he burst open from a kick to the stomach. Somerset investigates the murder, while Mills is assigned the case of famed defense attorney Eli Gould, Gene Borkin, whose blood on the floor has the word greed scrawled in it. Gould was forced to carve a pound of flesh off his body and bled to death as a result. Somerset is given an evidence container containing 3 slivers of a plastic-like substance discovered in the fat man's stomach and made to swallow alongside the pasta. Going to the victim's residence, Somerset discovers 3 groove marks in front of the refrigerator and discovers that the plastic-like slivers fit neatly into them. Somerset stares behind the refrigerator, knowing the slivers are the consequence of it being relocated. He discovers the word gluttony scribbled in grease under the fridge, along with a message containing a passage from Milton's Paradise Lost. Somerset believes a serial murderer is committing atrocities based on the 7 deadly sins, with 5 more to go. Tracy Mills, Gwyneth Paltrow, invites Somerset over for supper to give Mills and Somerset an opportunity to get to know each other. While they are dining, an elevated train goes by on the neighboring track, causing the building and all of its contents and people to tremble. The couple mentions that this is why the realtor was so anxious for them to see the apartment immediately, in order to conceal the railway's closeness. Mills and Somerset study case evidence from the 2 scenes after Tracy has gone to bed. They discover a photograph of Gould's wife with blood around her eyes. The investigators have a disturbed Mrs. believing that this indicates she is meant to notice something about the murder scene that no one else would. Gould, Julie Ariskog, is looking through the photographs at a safe home when she finds an upside-down abstract artwork. Somerset discovers fingers outlining the words "Help Me" on the wall behind the picture while brushing powder on it. The prints are tracked a day later to a pedophile named Victor, Michael Reed McKay, who evaded punishment for the rape of a kid thanks to the efforts of his lawyer, Eli Gould, the greed victim. SWAT and detectives search his apartment and discover Victor to be the sloth victim, having been shackled to his bed for 1 year to the day, as shown by photos taken at the scene, one taken every day from the day he is discovered. He is still alive, albeit suffering from serious physical and mental degradation. His hand was severed and slammed on the wall behind the artwork, leaving prints. Mills and Somerset request that Victor be interrogated in the hospital, but the doctor claims he's eaten off his tongue and his brain is mush after the torture. Tracy contacts Somerset that evening and asks him to meet with her. Somerset runs with Tracy in a diner the next morning, when she tells him how unhappy she is in the city. Tracy explains the reality behind her desire to meet with Somerset. She is pregnant, terrified of raising a kid where they presently reside, and afraid of informing David. Somerset encourages her to notify her husband only if she decides to have an abortion, and he uses himself as an example. He demanded his partner get an abortion, which he eventually got her to do, and he is now sorry. Later that day, Somerset obtains a library list of persons who have borrowed books about the 7 deadly sins from a source in the FBI. The investigators follow the list to a man named John Doe, whose apartment they shortly visit. Doe spots them as he returns home, pulls out a gun, and begins firing. After a brief chase, Doe beats Mills with a tire iron, holds him at gunpoint but lets him go, and departs. Mills believes that they have probable cause to enter Doe's residence since Doe fired at them. Somerset attempts to persuade him that the way they used to discover Doe's flat was unlawful and that if they arrested him, he would walk free. Mills nevertheless kicks the door open. They locate diaries of his ideas, souvenirs of the murders, and a picture of Mills battling off Doe, who was acting as a press photographer at the time. While searching the flat, after paying a tenant to pretend she had phoned the cops about Doe. John Doe contacts the apartment and expresses his gratitude to the officers for discovering him and apologizes for striking Mills, telling the young detective that he admires him. A receipt takes them to the S&M leather store, where Doe ordered a sexual equipment. The girl is discovered dead in a room with the word lust inscribed on the door. A clearly scared guy, Leland Orser, is also discovered in the room, forced by Doe at gunpoint to wear and use the gadget, a giant strap-on dildo with a blade attachment, to rape and kill the girl. The proprietor of the establishment, Wild Billy, Martin se7en, has no idea about the physical aspect or the suitcase John Doe used, as every customer used to bring unusual attire or equipment into the establishment. The next morning, a model, Heidi Shands, is discovered dead with the word pride inscribed on the murder scene. Her nose was severed, to spite her face, and Doe gave her the option of committing suicide with sleeping drugs or asking for aid and living disfigured. She opted for the former and consumed the tablets. As the investigators return to the police station, John Doe approaches them, his hands bleeding, he shaved the skin off his fingertips to prevent recognition, and surrenders. He consults with his lawyer and promises to confess to all the killings if he can lead Somerset and Mills to 2 more bodies. Doe's lawyer further cautions that if Somerset and Mills cannot reach an agreement, Doe will plead insanity, and the final 2 victims may never be discovered. The investigators comply because they want a confession. Somerset and Mills have microphones strapped to their chests, allowing the rest of the task team to listen in on their talk with Doe. During the preparation, Mills tries to inform Somerset about a worry he has with Tracy but is unable to do so entirely. A police aircraft follows the 3 as they drive to the city's outskirts in a vehicle for security, flown by John Santon and James Death. Doe explains his motivation for the killings as a manner of demonstrating the world's true awful character, as well as his desire to punish the wicked. He goes on to declare that he will be recognized and appreciated for what he has accomplished because he was selected to do so. As Doe talks, the disgruntled Mills explodes and yells at Doe, while Somerset remains quiet but clearly concerned. Doe instructs them to a certain location near some power wire towers once they reach the outskirts. Doe is led out to an open area by the detectives. After a few seconds, a vehicle emerges and Somerset comes to a halt several hundred yards away, leaving Mills to cover Doe. The driver, Richmond Arquette, alleges he was paid $500 to deliver a package to Mills at this location at exactly 7 a.m. Somerset recoils in fear when he opens the package and sees what's inside. Doe tells Mills that he admires Mills' life and is envious of his wife and the love they have as he runs back to him and urgently screams for him to give his pistol away. He goes on to say so he went to Mills' house and attempted to play husband with Tracy that day but it didn't work out and he left with a souvenir, her gorgeous head. Doe's intention was for Mills to kill him, since Doe was guilty of envy, resentful of Mills' easier existence. He also tells Mills that Tracy is pregnant and asked to be kept alive for the sake of the kid. Despite Somerset's pleadings, Mills is so heartbroken by his wife's death and the fact that she was pregnant that he shoots Doe in the head. Doe closes his eyes to accept his fate. Mills fires 5 more shots at Doe's corpse. Mills comes to embody the sin by killing Doe in revenge. After removing a catatonic Mills, their commander informs Somerset that they would take care of Mills, knowing that the jury will convict him. Whatever he needs, Somerset responds. He also informs his commander that he will be around, meaning that he would continue to serve on the force. The film concludes with Somerset paraphrasing Ernest Hemingway as the camera pans out from the desert, "The world is a beautiful place, and it is worth fighting for." The second half is correct.